Welcome to Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt of the Marquardt Law Firm at marquardtlawfirm.com.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt. Our guest today is Dr. John Delatorre, a licensed psychologist in Texas, Arizona, and New York
State. Yeah.
Okay, and he practices forensic psychology and primarily does work for criminal courts, including competency, insanity, violence and sexual violence risk, and threat assessment. Dr. Delatorre also has a master's degree in jurisprudence from St. Mary's University School of Law. You're a trained mediator and negotiator. And you can see Dr. Delatorre on television news and court shows such as Court TV and the Law and Crime Trial Network.
Yeah.
You have some new projects going on. Tell us about those.
I do, yes. So the Texas Psychological Association decided to start a podcast called The Texas Psychologist. So I am currently the host of that show. We talk about all different kinds of topics that are primarily psychology related, but it's an opportunity, I think, for people who are not psychologists to see the personality of a psychologist, to see just kind of how we view the world and how we think about the world and the different elements that make it up. And I also have coming soon is the new season of my show called Signs of a Psychopath. It's on Investigation Discovery. All episodes are currently streaming on HBO Max, but we've got a new season coming at the end of the summer, so be on the lookout for that.
And they can find Investigation Discovery through streaming apps?
There's streaming apps, Hulu, YouTube TV, anywhere that you get Investigation Discovery ID. Anywhere that you get that network, you'll be able to see it coming at the end of the summer.
So I wanted to have you on this show. We're going to be talking about the 764 case and your work in forensic psychology, violence risk assessment, and threat evaluation is excellent for discussing the rise of nihilistic violent extremist networks with a focus on groups like 764. So the goal of this episode is to raise public awareness, explore the psychological factors involved from a clinical perspective, discuss impacts on vulnerable individuals, particularly youth, and share practical insights on prevention and protection. Yeah. You ready for that?
Yeah, I am. Let's go.
So the FBI has put out some public awareness memos concerned about the sharp increase in the activity of 764 and groups like it. It's targeting and exploiting children across the United States. Members of these networks connect with children and other at-risk individuals online through messaging apps, social media, and gaming platforms. It's a tactic known as sadistic online exploitation. The term nihilistic violent extremism refers to what is motivating most of these subjects to commit criminal acts. Nihilistic meaning to sow chaos and facilitate the destruction of society. From a clinical perspective, how would you describe the rise of these nihilistic violent extremist networks like 764?
Insidious. Right, if we're going to boil it down to a word, insidious, I think that it's important to understand that these people are everywhere and nowhere all at the same time because everything lives online. A lot of people's lives now are totally online. And because we're not connected the way that we would be in older generations, that vulnerability means that anybody can enter into your world at any point in time through your phone, through your gaming system, through whatever electronic means that you have. When previously, I mean, obviously, we can't meet everybody in the entire world. Like, that's just not physically possible. So there was always the safeguard of a safety net of our community. But that safeguard doesn't necessarily exist companies do have an obligation to have safeguards on their platforms, whatever it is, the social media platforms, game, whatever. But it's hard to manage. It's hard to monitor. And I think that goes the same for parents. You know, these are youth. These individuals who are sowing these seeds of nihilism and extreme violence are also youth. And so that makes the message that they have much more sort of relevant to the potential victim. Mm-hmm. And parents, they may have, you know, their child's phone under lock and key, like they may have all of these things, but you're not always with them. Mm-hmm. You're not constantly there. And all they need, all these individuals need, is one tiny little opening. And once they have it, these people have become so sophisticated that once that hook is there, it's very hard to get rid of.
What makes this category of extremism distinct in terms of motivation?
Typically, when we think of terrorist organizations, right, the motivation for a terrorist organization is terror, mm-hmm. right? But they do it with a statement. There's something that they want to say, and they're going to find a way to make that statement. It's often political. But these individuals, they're not here to make a particular statement. There is no political agenda other than they want all politics to burn. There is no agenda. There is no societal agenda other than they want all society to burn. And so that's what makes it, it's what makes it difficult to kind of pin down a hierarchical structure. It makes it very difficult to kind of find that network, those different cells that branch off of one, you know, collective, because anybody can do this at any point in time. Just start up their own, right, their own nihilism cell. Mm-hmm. Anybody can do it, and it doesn't require training. Like, you don't have to go to some military camp. Mm-hmm. Right? You don't need any of that stuff. All you need is a message. And the more you are sophisticated in how you present that message, the better off you're going to be to convince someone else to engage in a behavior that they wouldn't have done had they never interacted with you previously.
And that's known as grooming, where they start with something small and then make it more extreme.
Yeah, it's
after that.
Yeah, grooming and engagement. Grooming is the breaking down of psychological barriers. Engagement is the breaking down of physical barriers. They're all different methods that individuals can use, and it's also about how that message is presented towards the potential victim. Yes, there are modes and mechanisms to keep that person there, but you have to get them on the hook first. And so this is why, you know, these individuals are often younger. You are young yourself as the person who is engaging in this, you know, nihilism. Mm-hmm. You already have that sort of authority, right, to another younger person, right? Because what, you know, tween or early teenager wants to listen to some 50-year-old man? Right. Like, no one wants, they're not going to do that. But if it's another 17, 18, 19-year-old, right? If it's another person like that they have that sort of age authority, right? They have that sort of generational authority. If they already have that, it makes that message that much stronger. And then these guys, you know, we're just going to genderize them and say that these are mostly men, men and boys.
The guy in the 764 case that was just sentenced to 40 years, he was 19.
Yeah, and I think that's important to recognize, is that, you know, we're not dealing with, you know, 40 and 50-year-old, you know, men that are just kind of, you know, finding back doors into Roblox or something like that. That's not what we're dealing with. We're dealing with individuals who are making statements about how this world is basically trash. And as a youth, when you see around you, you start thinking, right, this message is rattling around in your head. You start looking around that's when you're vulnerable, when you start seeing the world through their eyes. Rather than seeing the world through your eyes, you start seeing the world through their eyes. That's when you start, oh, wait a minute, they might be right. Once that's there, that's the hook. Then you can start engaging in the grooming and other tactics in order to keep that person. But you got to get that hook first.
And so what makes this nihilistic worldview with a deep sense of meaninglessness combined with a hatred of humanity so much more harmful according to your clinical experience?
Because it doesn't start with meaninglessness and hatred. Doesn't start there. Where it starts is, hey, look around you. Everything around you is messed up. Everything around you just doesn't work. Everything around you is not in a position for you to succeed. And then they start making excuses as to why that is. And then they start drilling down further and further into this meaninglessness. Once they have you captured into that thought process, they can then use that thought to convince you to engage in a behavior. And that's the real trick, because people have all different kinds of thoughts, right? Everybody does.
Let's continue that thought in the next segment. This is Talk Law Radio. I'm here with Dr. John Delatorre. He's a forensic psychologist, and we're breaking down the 764 case, a nihilistic, violent extremist group. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
This has been Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt, brought to you by the Marquardt Law Firm. You can learn more at marquardtlawfirm.com. And be sure to listen to the full Talk Law Radio show Saturday mornings at 11 on 9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Most families don't realize they have hidden legal blind spots until it's too late. Wills, trusts, Medicaid planning, even protecting a business. These are the kinds of issues attorney Todd Marquardt helps uncover before they become problems. Todd is the host of Talk Law Radio, where each week he guides listeners through the legal challenges families, veterans, and business owners face, while showing them the practical steps to protect what matters most. Catch Talk Law Radio, Saturdays at 11 a.m. on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, 6:30 a.m. The Word, and now in Houston on AM 1070 and 103.3 FM The Answer, or anytime on YouTube. Planning isn't just about documents. It's about peace of mind, security for loved ones, and building a legacy that lasts. Don't wait for a crisis. Do it before you die.